Today's guest is Csongor Barabasi, the founder of Bonsai Labs. Csongor and Bonsai Labs help PE-backed B2B software companies better innovate and integrate AI into their products. By the way, this summer I interviewed Csongor's colleague, Cass Mao. We discussed some of Bonsai's work with a healthcare software company. I'd recommend you check it out as a complement to this conversation. Today we'll discuss and you'll learn how his team goes from idea to launch and signed revenue in 6 months, how they pick use cases that boost enterprise value, and why the secret to winning with AI isn't just tech. Csongor, welcome to Just Curious.
Thank you for having me, Stu.
Who is Csongor Barabasi? What is Bonsai Labs? And how's your model different from the typical AI consultancy?
So I'm the founder, CEO of Bonsai Labs. My background is technical, been in machine learning and AI for almost the last decade. And I turned entrepreneur about 4 years ago. And through these last couple of years, I've founded and scaled multiple businesses, some going from 10 all the way to 500 people. And currently with Bonsai Labs, we have been focusing for the past 18 months to work with private equity funds. We have managed to work with some of the top 10 private equity funds in the world and help their portfolio companies to deploy AI solutions, which have a direct impact on EBITDA. Now, what makes Bonsai Labs different compared to all the other consulting firms out there? A couple core principles and values. The first one is that we are highly focused on execution. So we are not just another strategy deck production company or consulting firm who will just come and give you advice. We have a strong bias for action. The second part is that we have a deep focus on engineering excellence. So most of our team members are coming from top technology companies like AWS, Microsoft, Samsung's research lab. So we really set a very high bar for engineering. And we also adopt the engineering practices that have built some of the most iconic technology companies of our day and age. And finally, what also sets us apart is that we don't just build technology for the sake of technology. We have an integrated model on how we operate and how we deliver AI transformation, because for us, AI transformation is more than just building the product. It's also about how do you transform your people, how do you upskill your people, how do you transform your processes, and then the product fits into this mix. So the best way to summarize this is that we have been doing AI way before it was cool, and we are over-indexing on our strong engineering expertise in that. And we know that you can get to value 10 times faster than it was possible to get to before. So we are over-indexing this high bias for action and very quick time to value.
Awesome. And we're going to share some examples of that bias to action in a few minutes. I'd love to spend a little bit more time on your background. You went from machine learning engineer to scaling multiple companies to now leading Bonsai Labs. What's the thread that connects them all, and kind of what led you into launching Bonsai Labs?
The common thread is love for technology, but not for the sake of technology. But I was, since university and doing research and playing around with machine learning, I was always interested in how can we take this piece of technology and put it into the hands of people and deliver real world value. So that is a common thread across everything that I have done. It was never research or science for the sake of science. It was research and science for the sake of generating value in the world. Now with Bonsai Labs, and the reason why we started and what I have observed and what was the aha moment is that previously I have been in the venture-backed space. So I understand what does it mean to raise money, how to find product market fit, and the way to navigate the idea maze. And when I started playing around with GitHub Copilot in between my two companies and like thinking about what I will build next, I was fascinated by these upcoming coding AI agents and coding tools. And that was an aha moment for me that software engineering will significantly change and will also change in a way that it becomes cheaper than ever to build software, which today we can actually see it is happening. And we are almost having a fast fashion moment in software. So it really got me thinking that if technology will be cheaper than ever, then the saying of first-time founders focus on technology, second-time founders focus on distribution, it's even more important than ever before. So it all becomes about distribution. And then I have been thinking about, okay, how can I leverage this distribution angle in this new world? I didn't have a large online audience, so I don't have the distribution that I can capitalize on immediately, but maybe someone else has it already, but doesn't know how to capitalize on this. And I think this is the best description of private equity firms and AI when you use these two words in one sentence. These firms have wonderful companies, sticky businesses with enduring revenue, low churn of customers. So they own the distribution and they already have the customers. What they do not have is top tier engineering talent. So my thesis behind Bonsai Labs was like, can I help these guys to win even bigger than they have been winning before? And I can come in with my expertise of building AI products. They already have the distribution. And if you marry these two, something great can happen. So we have been really focused on this niche and already helping private equity funds, their portfolio companies to unlock new revenue, net new ARR. And the moment that we build a product, we know that it can immediately be rolled out to customers.
In your experience, what's the most common mistake these companies make when trying to adopt AI?
There are two common mistakes or misconceptions that I see. One of them is just inaction. So most companies are stuck in conversations and strategizing and making bold claims about AI based on what they see in the news of like coding agents coming to replace all software engineers or 95% of pilots failing. So these type of bold claims are happening on an exec and board level as well, but it never materializes to like what's next, what is the action. So I would say this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see, that AI is all about just like how quickly can you get to value, action, put in the learning cycles. And the other mistake that I see is that everyone thinks that you have to do a large data transformation if you don't have the data in place before you can do AI. So then what happens is the data transformation is a 6 to 12 month process. It costs millions of dollars. And then, we cannot do Gen AI because we haven't done yet data transformation. But that actually is not true, because you can have use cases for which you do not have to have your whole data warehouse in place. You can have siloed and standalone products which can already generate more value. I would say these are the two camps that I see most often.
Yeah. And with the first camp, what is your recommendation? What is your provocation to them when you see them doing a lot of talking, but not a lot of acting?
My recommendation, and of course it's a little bit like tooting our own horn, but bring an expert in. Either you hire someone full-time in your team or bring an external partner and just do very quick POCs and experimentations. The first decision shouldn't be about should we invest a 6-month budget into building this AI solution. The conversation rather should be, we have identified some potential use cases. Can we prove out these use cases within the next 4 to 6 weeks so that we can build a business case around it? And the business case then always ties back to EBITDA, margin expansion, a net new revenue. So around the core metrics that are important in private equity. That's the best that you can do right now. And the technology will always keep evolving. And you need this constant experimentation and learning to see when the technology is right and ready to be applied at your company.
Yeah. You work closely with CTOs and chief product officers. What are they most worried about right now when it comes to AI?
What I see one top of mind topic for CTOs is training up their engineering teams. It's not so much a worry, but it's, I would say, a top of mind topic for them to how quickly can we roll out AI coding tools to our engineers and boost the efficiency. But afterwards, the next phase of worry, especially for CTOs and technical leaders, they have been used to build software which is easy to test. So you have predictable, deterministic unit tests, integration tests within your systems, and you were able to say when things go wrong or right. And now with generative AI, you have this unpredictability, this stochastic behavior in the responses, and that sets leaders a little bit at unease of how do we know if this thing works? How do we know? How can we feel confident to release it out into production? And there is a gap happening between they can build it very quickly even in-house and run some experiments, but then there is this gap from moving from POC to production, where it's like unsure how to quantify the quality of the systems that they built.
You said that AI is not just about the tech, and you have a process that focuses on, well, people and process and product. Share a little bit more about what that looks like and how it helps people better use this technology.
Absolutely. When we think about AI and AI transformation in general, if you just build a product and hope that people will come and people will use it, that doesn't work most of the time. So that is why we are taking a very integrated approach of like, our objective is how can this organization truly become an AI driven and AI native organization? How can we take them through this journey and to ensure that they will have successful returns and ROIs by the end? And that requires these three elements of people, process, and product transformations. So when we think about people, the most basic thing is just enablement and making sure that people are up to date with how AI works, potentially offering them a psychological safety training, and really making sure that they are ready for this transformation. And setting the tone from a leadership level as well, that we bring AI in, but it's not to take away your jobs. It's to make your jobs easier, more fun, take away the boring and the busy work that you don't like, so you can enjoy working on things that you like within the organization. And then when it comes to, you build a product, you know exactly the use case that you want, but then you have to make sure that product fits into the processes that your people are following today. And sometimes those processes might be inefficient, might be archaic. So you don't want to just take for face value those processes and build a product on top. You will have to first understand the process, reimagine the process with an AI native lens, and then make sure that the product fits into this new AI native setup. And once you have the product, then you have to do constant training and almost roll out by reinforcement, where you constantly check in with your team and make sure that they are adopting it the right way. They have the right support system around them to understand how these new AI-powered systems are working and how they can work together with them in this newly set up configuration. So that's how we usually think about like what AI transformation really is.
I want to talk about speed too, because that's a big part of your value proposition. You have a 4-step approach to go from identifying a use case to being in market and generating revenues. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like, and for people who are curious about whether this could be applied to their own business, their own product, like, yeah, what that process looks like.
Absolutely. So when it comes to speed of iteration, what we really mean is that technology can be built with a small, nimble, elite team and can be built in a very, very fast time. Because now we have coding agents, we are using out-of-the-box tools as well. We are leveraging OpenAI's capabilities, Anthropic's capabilities. So a lot of the legwork and the heavy lifting has already been done by these model providers. And you just have to make sure you iterate the right way and you know how to cut through the noise. So that's what we refer to when we talk about speed. With regards to our process and how do we build products and how do we do this even quickly within new industries and new domains, it always starts with a very deep domain understanding. So we work very closely with the business experts and the domain experts from our client until we clearly understand how is their thinking pattern, how do their processes look like, and ask all the most basic and beginner questions possible until we clearly can put ourselves in their shoes and understand how their day-to-day work is being done. Once we understand their domain, then we can come with a technical recommendation of what is the fastest time to value, what is the right infrastructure setup. If they require a highly secure environment, it has to be privacy first conscious. And then we also assess what is the risk appetite of the client and how do they think about going into production. Some clients are very comfortable with going into production when the system is working at about 70% accuracy and they want to iterate in public. Other clients only want to go into production when the system is perfect. And in this scenario, we work together also with the domain experts and with the business team to set up an evaluation data set. So we put in all this heavy lifting ahead of building, because if we do this heavy lifting ahead of time, then our iteration cycles and implementation cycles will be much, much faster. So once we have the domain understanding, and the domain understanding even to the engineering level, so our engineers are always exposed directly to the problem, we have the evaluation data set in place. That's when we start implementation. And we work literally in weekly cycles, weekly sprints. By the end of every week, we want to have demos that we can show as progress, and we can demonstrate how the system is improving. And every single week, we also have our benchmark against the evaluation set of where is our accuracy levels, how well we are performing. And at that point, it becomes a very quick weekly iteration and feedback cycle. And we aim to get to production as quickly as possible in those scenarios. We have went into production in 4 weeks with some clients. With other clients, it took 12 weeks to get into production. It also depends on the complexities of the system that we are building.
I'd love to walk through an example of what that looks like. You shared a case study with a legal AI assistant. Let's start really with the problem they came to you with. What was going on at that legal tech company, and what were they looking to solve?
Absolutely. So this company, they have been already established before we have started working with them. They have been on the market for at least 5 years. They had a successful company, a working product. The product wasn't AI powered. And then at the time that we started engaging, the whole legal AI boom happened. Harvey AI came out of the gate and raised a couple of very big rounds. Then Legora started spinning up, and there was just a whole boom around legal AI. And our client was struggling to attract AI talent fast enough as well to keep up with this demand. They already had their internal AI team, but they needed extra help and extra, let's say, push to go faster. So that's how we engaged with them, and we joined them as their AI SWAT team. And our goal was to launch a legal research assistant, all Gen AI powered, similar to the Harvey product or the Legora product, and do this in 3 months. And the client also possessed some proprietary data set, which made the whole engagement even more exciting. We didn't have to build on top of public domains. We were building actually on a very unique domain and a proprietary data set. So our approach, we followed exactly what I've just described before, is like we understood the domain, worked together with the in-house lawyers of the company. Then they had very high security and privacy requirements. It was all happening in a Microsoft Azure environment, and we had to make sure we fit into that framework. So even serving OpenAI, for example, through a Microsoft Azure instance. And they also cared about having an evaluation data set in place, because when you work with lawyers, they are very skeptical about this kind of tools. They don't believe they work really well. So one of the key KPIs for a legal AI product is the first answer correctness. If the first answer is extremely correct, the lawyer's trust is gained. If the first answer is even slightly wrong, then you break trust and the product is never used again, and most lawyers just default back to ChatGPT. And once we had all this in place, then we went into very quick iteration cycles, and we built this chatbot where we had a rec pipeline and we had the answer generation as well, and we had to index millions and millions of documents.
What impact did the product have post-launch, both on users and on revenue?
So we got to beta launch within 3 months, and by that month 3, they already had paying customers who were using the product. And then we went into general availability in 6 months. And by those 6 months, they have already hit 7-figure ARR only from this product as a net new ARR. And we also unlocked for them, thanks to that product, I believe, a new funding round that now helps them to be seriously competitive with the rest of the legal AI market.
What are the lessons for other software companies who are facing pressure and market hype from new entrants who are AI native?
The main lesson is just to move as fast as possible. And I have seen this playbook repeat again and again, both in later stage VC-backed companies and PE-backed companies as well. the fact that you have distribution is not a guarantee that you will survive, but you have a couple of steps ahead against of that startup starting in Silicon Valley and doing the same thing as you do. And you already have the customer trust. So these companies, in my opinion, they should just focus on moving as fast as possible, getting the right experts on board. So especially for a legal domain where it's highly complex and not easy to build a legal research assistant. Legal document processing and understanding of those documents is very complex. So you need the right partner and the right experts on board or the right team members in-house to build that product and go to market as quickly as possible, initially with a small set of customers, with them iterate as quickly as possible, and then when you are ready, you can launch generally. And this iteration extremely quickly, I believe it's critical. And I notice a lot of products out there nowadays which sell on the AI hype. I sign up, I try them out, but I do not see another improvement or another feature update in 1 or 2 months. They are just very slow in terms of iteration. That is the moment when I just cancel my subscription. And this is how a lot of companies are thinking about it as well. AI is experimental and you will get a lot of customer signups, but do not take it for granted because it doesn't mean they will stay with you for long. You have to keep iterating very, very quickly and keep bringing more value to them so that you can, in the end, have a successful AI product.
Yeah. Maybe we can transition to the second case study you shared, which was a legacy private equity-backed B2B software company. I know you can't disclose the industry because you're under NDA, but you shared how they've been around for 10 years or so. There was competition from competitors claiming that they do AI. There was risk of share loss. I kind of set up like complicated situation for this company. Tell us about how you worked with them to resolve that.
It's exactly the same scenario as with the legal firm. They were facing competitive pressure. AI talent was just not enough to move like fast at the speed of the market, and they needed help. And again, it was their time to capitalize on it. Either they can lock in their customers even more and expand the contract values, or the risk was to lose market share. So this is how the whole conversation started. And was very interesting to work with this private equity-backed company because we have discovered new product opportunities that we can build in this scenario, despite that it was a 10-year-old company. And these new product opportunities were basically customer problems that customers were complaining about a lot, but it wasn't easy to solve before. And so just customers put up with that problem and they just had to use the software, let's say an hour or two more every single day, but they were still using the software and they were still paying customers. So what this helped the company is like once you identify the opportunity of how we can solve our customers' problem 10 times better, make their life easier, then we can also charge more for it. So we can expand our contract values and we can also maybe steal, quote unquote, or get customers from our competitors because now suddenly our product is much, much better than it was before. So this was the thesis behind our collaboration. Like, how can we overhaul or rebuild this product and create like more stickiness and more customer love?
Those are great case studies. You mentioned early on that unlike a more traditional consultancy, you have a bias to action. You are focused on building things and not just delivering decks and recommendations. What about relative to like other dev shops? I'm presuming I know there are a bunch of software development agencies that are focused on helping organizations use AI, integrate AI into their products, build AI native products, quote unquote. How does Bonsai Labs differentiate from those dev shops? And, maybe how is that expressed in the work you did in these two examples?
Great question. First of all, yes, you're right that every dev shop which has been doing mobile development, front-end, back-end development so far, now everyone is rebranding towards an AI development agency. So there is more noise out in the market than ever before in terms of who is really an AI expert and who's not. And we noticed this. The simplest litmus test that you can have is just go on a dev shop's page, and whoever is the person that they will recommend to work with, look at their history and check when did they become a machine learning engineer or AI engineer. Mostly it will be in the last 2 years. And previously they have been an iOS engineer or sorts for 10 years. So that for me is a really red flag, because yes, it's easy to follow a LangChain tutorial online and build a product, but does that mean you can build a product that is suitable for a private equity-based software business, which has sticky customers, wants to make sure that they protect these relationships with the customers, and they build a product that works? I would say they are not the right partners. And this is why headlines like MIT's 95% of POCs failing is gaining so much traction, is because indeed these partners are massively contributing to the failure rate of those POCs. They are capitalizing on the gold rush, but they are not delivering great service. The second element is that traditionally software agencies haven't been attracting the best engineering talent. The best engineering talent was going to the startups where the potential was to build the next unicorn or the next decacorn. No one wanted to work at a software development agency. And these two, I would say, there is also actually a third one, which is the larger partners, the Accentures of the world, and the Deloittes of the world. They even sell you Gen AI engineers who are actually not engineers. So you will probably get a statistician, an economist, someone who knows a little bit of Python, but suddenly they are a Gen AI engineer. So this is more like, let's say, reinforcing the problem of like how many engineers claim to be AI engineers and they are actually not. This is the biggest problem in the industry. Of course, the way we differentiate out of this all is just by first saying that the only thing we do as a company is generative AI implementation. We don't claim to be experts on front-end development or back-end development or any type of traditional, let's say, software build, because we believe there are enough people already doing this, and we are happy to partner up with them. And the second part is that we have been doing actually natural language processing way before it was cool. So in 2016 and in 17, our team members have been working with BERT-like models and transformers way before Gen AI and ChatGPT took off. So when we come on board, we actually understand what has to be done, and we understand how the technology works and how it should be used for your use case. And then the final bit is that we as a company, all our team members are ex-startup employees or ex-founders. Some of them had their own AI startup, and then they have decided to join our mission to do AI transformation. And that sets us apart in our work ethic and our dedication towards our clients. We are not a firm who is like a 9 to 5 where we are paid for this amount of hours and then we clock out. It has often happened that if our partner, we call them rather partners than clients, has had a big launch coming up the next week and they needed us to be there over the weekend and push hard and almost feel like we are part of their internal team, we have been going always that extra mile. So I think it's like mentality around how to build software, engineering excellence, move at startup speed, even though if you are an enterprise, is what sets us apart.
I'd love to ask, as we come to a close, some questions that hopefully tease out some lessons and some practical advice. Maybe we could start with misconceptions. What's a common misconception about launching AI products that you wish most leaders understood?
The most common misconception that I see is that we do not have the data in place, so we cannot start building AI. I would say this is the biggest misconception and the conversation which delays building AI products the most, because data transformation has a history of large budgets, overrunning timelines, and this freaks out every executive. My counterpoint to that would be the easiest way that you can launch the AI product is just go manually, download the data that you need from your database, put it in a CSV file, in an Excel sheet, whatever it is, and build an AI POC within 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then prove the business case. If the business case and the ROI make sense, such as what we have been sharing today in terms of the software builds, our ROIs were in terms of enterprise value expansion in the multiple 8 figures. I mean, then you can justify to invest $1 million into a data transformation and then do the AI build because you know that the upside is much greater. But otherwise, leaders just get stuck because they cannot wrap their head around how to justify the ROI. And so they basically kill their idea way before even like trying it out.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned about building successful AI teams, not just products?
The most important lesson is to interview people in person. I have met multiple engineers who have been claiming to be AI engineers and have been doing wonderfully on remote interviews supported by AI. And then when they came on site and we did a whiteboarding exercise, it was a terrible failure. So that's one of my biggest learnings. And the other one around building successful AI teams is that how do you measure the progress of your AI team? That's the biggest question on the mind of CTOs, because AI is also experimentation. Sometimes you run an experiment, it fails, and then do you consider, it's not like you build a front-end application and you put a button and the button is there and success. Sometimes in AI, the success will be actually learning one more way that didn't work, rather than always finding the way that works. And in that scenario, the easiest way to keep your AI team in check is to have some KPIs against which you are benchmarking. So let's say if you build a retrieval engine on top of your documents, then you could have precision and recall, two simple metrics, and you can check every single experiment whether it's improving those numbers or it's worsening the numbers. And this way, every single week, you can keep a tab on how your AI team is performing. I think these two principles, hire the right people, the right experts, and have a KPI, even though you have failed experiments, but keep tracking that single KPI is what helps you to build a successful AI team.
And then lastly, I usually ask a question about what should people start doing tomorrow, but maybe we can flip that. For leaders that are already tinkering with POCs, what should they stop doing right now?
For leaders who are tinkering with POCs,
Yeah, they've got a bunch of pilots or POCs running, which they stop doing to ensure that those pilots and POCs are successful.
okay, I would say stop falling in love with your POC. Is not your little baby in the company. It actually should be something which is pragmatic and should deliver value. So if you feel that you are just in love with this project and you are building it because you are in love with it, but there is no clarity on what is the business value and what is the ROI, I think you should just stop for a second, take stock, look across all your ongoing POCs and pick the one which has the highest ROI quantified and indexing only on making that a success within the next 1 or 2 weeks. And then come back again, look at your next use cases and do that same thing again. Otherwise, what I see is a lot of technical leaders take this on as a weekend project, as an afternoon project, and they build on it while their engineering team is very busy with other things. So it always stays this love project and pet project, and that's why in the end, it never makes it out into production.
For people listening, who should reach out to Bonsai Labs? What types of companies, what types of organizations, what types of roles within these organizations? Who do you want to hear from?
So we are very excited to speak with CTOs and CPOs from B2B software companies. And if so far you have been only doing AI engineering, but now the bigger question starts arising, how do we get this into production? And then you consider things like product roadmap, product strategy alignment, GTM alignment, and then how AI engineering fits into that. This is our specialty. We help B2B software companies to either retrofit their existing product and build AI features into it, or we build completely new products for B2B software companies, which are generating 7-figure ARR within the first 3 to 6 months.
Csongor, thank you so much for coming by. Just curious.
Thank you as well, Stu.